Kauri Dieback. I don't know, for the last 10 years, I must go back and check the timeline on it. Kauri Dieback has been a bit like climate change or COVID, a terrible disease sweeping our trees that requires drastic measures by you and lots of government money and lots of bureaucracy to save the kauri trees. And basically the idea that humans were vectoring Kauri Dieback disease, it's some sort of metal rust or something, I'm not a scientist. And we had to spend millions of dollars building walkways so you couldn't go near the kauri trees, and we need to consult with Maori about the kauri trees. And it now is, I think, emerging, and a number of people, including a guest we had on the show last week, say this is largely BS. Well, is it? And is it time we reassessed the cult of Kauri Dieback? Joining us now is Councillor Ken Turner from West Auckland. He's been farming in the Waitakeres for 30 years. And as a local body politician, he's taken an interest in this issue. And when we ran that interview last week, what was the group called? Walk, Tramp, Run. From the Walk, Tramp, Run group, we reached out. We wanted to get someone else to talk about it, and we wanted to start the debate. And it's nice that Councillor Ken Turner has decided to join in the discussion, and he's on the line now. Ken, how are you? Good morning.
Very good, thank you.
Ken, look, first up, Kauri Dieback, big story, lots of very serious reporters doing pieces to camera and saying, gosh, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, it's unprecedented, all the trees are going to die. Is it that big a deal?
No.
Oh.
And just to change, I'm fourth generation from the Waitakere. I've lived in this valley. My great-grandfather settled in 1892, Whoa. And I've farmed here all my life. I've farmed council land for 30 years,
yeah,
and I've observed my surroundings all that time, and it is some of that, especially my grazing of council parkland, that drove me to one of the things that drove me to politics. It's not that. It's not that bad. It's the same as cabbage tree dieback between the late 90s and the early 2000s. Look it up. It was called significant decline syndrome. The only thing that's dead is the debate.
So, Ken, and what I'm getting, and what I got from our guest from Tramp, Walk, Run, is that in nature and in our natural environment, all sorts of organisms compete and all sorts of organisms feed off or affect others. And they're a cyclic up and down. It's a bit like, dare I say it, the weather, Ken. And it's not all down, and it's kind of arrogant of us as human beings to think it's all about us. And we cause everything.
Well, we caused a big calamity when we milled the place. And what we didn't chop down, we squashed.
That's like deliberate dieback. That's the most blunt form of dieback there is, cutting a tree down.
Absolutely. And when I was a kid and up until my earlier adult life, we called it the bush, because the whole place in the Waitakeres was only chest high. It was all scrub. It was all It was all the tea tree. It was all what they now call nursery crop. Yeah. Now you naturally call it the forest. It's recovering. But even in those early days, when I was a little kid, I remember helping my granddad. He used to cut down dead kauri about the size of power poles and turn them into chop them into post lengths, and we use them on the farm. They weren't that good, but there's still the odd one around. And I can't remember actually, but I remember his answer. I must have asked him, why is it dead? And he looked at me and said, they're as thick as hairs on a cat's back, son. They can't all get to be Tane Mahuta. I'm looking out my window now. They are they're called rickers. They're in groves all over the area I'm looking at and other parts of the Waitakeres. And they can't all get to be Tane Mahuta. Natural thinning is certainly part of what's happening.
All right. So this is part, once again, of nature's way. It's not some sudden crisis because we're all evil. And I say it, I think there's also an overlay on this. We're all evil Pākehā colonisers, killing the kauri trees.
I don't. It's just everybody. They are saying that human feet are 70% of the vector. You ask them, oh, okay, well, do pigs do it? Do possums do it? Do birds do it? Oh, yeah. Okay, what percentage of the vector are they? Oh, we can't tell you. Well, how the hell can you tell us that humans are 70% of the vector? And you start the questioning there, and and the whale song started many, many years ago, and I've been looking. Many people have been looking for a way to attack this hypocrisy in many cases, and we've just been lucky that they've pushed the boat out so far now that it's given everyone
So
hanging on.
now this is
for a minute.
interesting, and I hadn't thought of it, and I can immediately see what you're saying, Ken. The stupidity of the let's play the whale song, and we're still hunting that story. Let's play the whale songs to the kauri trees. You're saying was a natural progression from a start point that was never scientific in the first place.
That's how I see it. Maybe not scientific, but certainly a cacophony of half-truths. And then chucked in with a whole bunch of emotive comments, like, the people who said we want to keep walking at our park, we want to keep enjoying nature, we love nature. They were called the army of the self-entitled. Now, I don't know if there was an army of the self-entitled, but I'll tell you what, there's now an army of the self-serving, that's for sure.
Yeah, self-serving and taxpayer-funded, Ken. Ken, how much money do you think has been wasted by local bodies up there in the Waitakeres, building walkways and making rules and regulations and enforcing rules and regulations that really have no basis in science or fact?
Well, let's just get back to the money. First of all, I've got to know how much in some form has been collected or spent. I've been asking these questions in council. I was a local board member for 5 years before I got as a councillor. Because of the area, the Waitakere Ranges local board, this encompasses the whole Waitakere Ranges heritage area and track network and regional park. I've been asking these questions for ages. The NETA, the Natural Environment Targeted Rate, that was sold to us auspiciously for just, we'll save the kauris with this targeted rate, collecting $32 million a year for 10 years. And then it was extended a while ago for another 2 years. So it's now going to be 12 years. We're about halfway through. In the first year, I got a table that we spent 1.2 million here, 4.3 million. Then it turned into a pie chart. Then it turned into percentages. And I'm looking at one of those right now. And you have no real idea. Then the other problem in council is when the money comes in as the targeted rate, it then gets split up out to different departments, and then those departments all have individual jobs coming back into the issue. It's kind of, the problem is, in my opinion, portfolio-based management rather than place-based management. So the end result is I have no idea where the money's going, what's being spent. But I'll tell you, it's in the tens of millions on walkways, plastic tracks. And then when I joined the local board, the Waitakere Ranges local board had a policy, they still have a policy, non-proliferation of hard structures. And yet you should see what's being built.